up, Tegan? You overachiever?
Oh, just listening to the Trump shit from last night and taking a CE class.
Nice multitasking. I like it.
Yeah,
Guilty on all 34 counts of covering that shit up, huh?
yeah. uh, I don't know. I've never seen more of a kangaroo court in myself, but
Dude,
I
just
guess.
legal wise, I listened to a couple guys last week just talking about legal proceedings, what they did to get the charges to get to be felonies so that they could prosecute them, piling them all together like that. And yeah, that's what they were saying is that it's the worst execution of US law that they've like ever seen.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree. And I'm not a law student by any means of the word, but yeah, you can definitely tell that there's some shady shit going on.
Yeah, it's wild. It's definitely wild. We're gonna just touch base a little bit today. I just had some showings over in Laramie that got moved up, so I'm gonna have to bail early. So Shalisa updated that track in command like immediately, and I didn't
Mhm.
realize she was gonna do it that fast. And I know we're being recorded, so thank you, Shalisa, for doing an amazing job when you listen to this. But I wasn't prepared for that, so I've been getting calls about what those things are. So there's a funds tracking ledger requirement in there now. I sent out the sheet this morning so that everybody would have it. And it's basically the information that's on the receipt and the transaction, and you just have to have one of these sheets. And the only real reason you have to have it is if at the end of it and it doesn't close, well, two reasons. State statute says we have to. And then the second reason is if it closes and doesn't go to get dispersed on HUD sheets, or doesn't close, I mean, and doesn't get dispersed on HUD sheets, nobody knows where the money went. So we have to document it. So it's a little bit redundant, but it's literally like 30 seconds worth of work. And we'll just keep those sheets in there all the time, and then everything will be good.
Okay, because yeah, I had one close significantly earlier yesterday.
Okay,
Kind of just out of the blue. And I sent it in and I didn't submit it because I had no idea what the fuck this was and nobody really knew what it was.
right.
Uh, so she just kind of went over it and didn't do it, kind of a deal. But
Okay.
yeah, no, I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, no, and like I said, so we've been kind of battling forever when we had Braden and everybody in, trying to get the track updated and whatever, and thought it was like a big deal. Apparently it wasn't, and I guess nobody just looked at Shalisa and said, "Hey, can you update this?" Because she, like 30 seconds after we got off that call the other day, I think it was updated, and I'm like, "Oh, dang, okay." And now I've been fielding calls on it since Thursday, so, or since Wednesday.
So this is just seller buyer principal. So that's the amount the property is, property description. Is that just the regular address or is that the legal?
You should be able just to do the regular address for reference, I think.
Event description. So it'd be just sale.
Well, event description like would be deliver earnest money would be the first one probably.
Okay.
And the
So that
second
would be
one,
the only thing that was on there in case, like if
yeah,
it didn't close, obviously.
yeah, and then yeah, how the money gets out. So then maybe the second one on the ledger is closed, July 4th, whatever the case is, and money dispersed to transaction. And then there wouldn't be a check number or anything that went along with that. And then I would just note in there, HUD statement or something like that. So probably most of them will be earnest money being delivered on the front side and then it being dispersed to the transaction on the end there. The other option would be if it doesn't close, if it's held still, who's holding it, or if it's dispersed and agreed upon, which party it got dispersed to, and then with, see attachments and miscellaneous folder for agreement or whatever the case is. But they just, when they walk in, they've got to be able to know that, where all the money went and how it got dispersed out.
That's pretty stupid if you ask me, but I guess
Well, so like I said, it's so, and I was having this conversation with Casey Pearson yesterday. All of these forms, you've heard me say it a million times. None of them are for when everything's good, right? If everybody gets their money and everything's golden and you walk through, nobody cares. There is at least one story floating around where a deal didn't get done. They hadn't agreed to disperse the earnest money yet, and a client walked into like a First American Title and got somebody fairly new and said, "Hey, this deal didn't close. I need my earnest money back." And they gave them that earnest money back without there being any agreement to disperse it or do anything. So it's built for those scenarios. And when you're dealing with other people's money, there's just a bunch of tracking things put in place by statute to make sure that they're all right.
That sounds more like a title company deal than us, but all right.
Well, so what happens is that title companies don't get the responsibility. This is one of those typical delegation scenarios. Like we can delegate the task. We can say we're not going to take the earnest money, and we're going to have you take it as a funds holder at the title company, but the responsibility legally still lies with us. So we can delegate the task, but we can't delegate the responsibility, which is why we still have to have the ledger in place. If you were actually taking earnest money as a brokerage, there's three things you have to have. You have to have the actual registry that the checks are written out of. You have to have the tracking ledger, and then you have to have a reconciliation. We get rid of two of those things by using funds holders, and then this is the piece that we have to keep on to. So it is what it is, but and it's
Yeah.
easy. It's not like it's a huge pain. It's literally probably 30 seconds worth of work, and just keep it in the file, and we're good. So
Okay. I will start getting that filled out, and it's auto added into there now. I saw the spot, but I didn't click on it, so I didn't know.
I don't think the form is available yet in Dotloop. It just got updated in the KW track, so it's probably I got to get with Shalisa and find out. Get form fields added to it and stuff like that, so you can fill it out in Dotloop. So
Okay.
we'll do that. We'll do that over the course of this next week. But you'll have the form so that you have it, so that you can just upload it. You just won't be able to. It won't be in Dotloop for you yet.
Okay, that's no problem.
You got that one closed yesterday. Congrats on that. That's good.
Yeah, it's kind of a shotgun deal. Me and Julie were the agents on it, and my one of the sellers, so it's a bank that owns that property, it was a repo, and they called me and said, "Hey, we got it under contract. Look over the contract. Here it is. We're looking at closing the 10th." I looked it over and said, "Well, this needs changed. This needs changed. This needs changed. But other than that, it looks like a good deal. Are you guys willing to accept?" Yep. So I sent it over to Julie, had her fix all the shit on there, and then sent it back to me, and then I sent it to them, they signed it, didn't send it over to me yet. And then they're like, "Well, we're closing the 10th." So I got everything scheduled, sent over to my title docs. Then he called me just organically on Wednesday and said, "Oh, are you ready for your closing tomorrow?" It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, "Oh, we're scheduled for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're closing. Make sure to be there." And yeah, so it was fun.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, Shalisa knocked all those changes out on Wednesday by 10:26 a.m.
Damn. And she's
Yeah.
been like on top of shit. Like I've gotten emails from her at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like just I just happen to be up and I'm getting emails from her and replying and sending stuff or fixing stuff.
Oh, Shalisa added it to Dotloop this morning.
Perfect. We just have to self-prompt it.
Yeah, yeah, there just won't be any fields on it yet.
Okay, that's no problem.
Okay, yeah, she threw it in Dotloop this morning when I sent it over. I meant to try and get it done yesterday, and I just didn't get it over to anybody. So, what else you got going on, Tegan? You busy as heck?
Getting to be. I got a closing that it's been a nightmare since the day one. I had the listing and then I sold it to like my mother or gave it to my mother, and I just did it for like a transaction coordinator kind of position.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
so I'm not getting shit off of it, but they had a problem with the county clerk. So now it went back to the county clerk. Now it has to go back into escrow, and then it has to have the 3 work deal or the 3 week testing deal. I just got an extension signed for 5 weeks. And then now the county clerk says, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to you in the next 2 weeks. So we're going to get another stupid extension. And it was
Is it
supposed
got
to
a cloud?
close to like
Is it got a cloud on title, or is there something wrong with the deed, or what?
something wrong with the deed. They didn't fill out something for the escrow or something correct, or somebody screwed it up. So they have to completely restart the process.
Wow.
And then I got 3 residential listings coming up here pretty soon. Pretty big commercial listing coming up soon. And then I got 2 lots set to close this month.
Nice. Nice. You got any big log cabins over there for sale that you can get to Mona?
Get to Mona?
Yeah, Mona's got some buyers that are looking for a log cabin and they're looking in the Sheridan Buffalo area, but she's driving to Lander, she's driving all over the place. So if you
Like
had something in the eastern half of the state there, it might be worth getting over to her.
big, like what do you, like big acreage or just big?
Just a big log cabin, I think somewhere in the million and a half range.
Well, one of the South Dakota agents has one either Moorcroft or Rosette area, pretty big one.
Out in the timber?
Yeah, I think it's got like 2 acres. I don't remember who it was. I shared it a long time ago.
Yeah, I think I sort of remember that now.
But yeah, that one would probably be good. It's pretty nice. I think it's like 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 level.
Is that Christina Singer's?
That might be.
Um, yeah, if that is that in your MLS?
I thought it was. Hell, it might not be. Uh, I got it here. It is 1.65 million in Sundance. Uh, it's not log cabin, it's just wood siding.
Oh,
But I mean, it's out in the timbers, decent land, pretty beautiful.
you could send it to her. You could just email it to her and say, "Hey, I know that Sean said you guys were looking for something. I know it's not log, but it is wood. Does that count?"
And I'll take a finder's fee of 5%.
Well, honestly, if we could help her find something, because I keep anything that comes up down here that's log in Laramie or Cheyenne, I send up to her, and he hasn't decided to come down and look at any of them yet. But yeah, dude, I'm sure that I mean, she just listed a 5 point. She's listed, it's going live today, 5.4 million up on Piney Creek. I don't remember the acreage up above Story right there. And then she says she's got like $20 million buyers. He's one of them. This guy's looking for a log cabin specifically, but literally she's driving all over the state trying to find him one. She just hasn't, he won't come down here yet. He hasn't decided that this would be a good area, but man, the Black Hills right there, Sundance, Moorcroft, Beulah, all that stuff over in that area. That's like being in the mountains. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd send her whatever you could.
Who is it again?
Mona Phillips.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, I'll send it over to her.
Nice. You running into any issues or anything that you want to talk about at all while we got a couple of minutes?
Uh, Not really, in case you have a really, really good lawyer to do uh like seller finance situations. I've ran into like 5 or 6 of them now, and none of them kind of fell through. So,
So I mean, I've used an attorney down here that put together a promissory note and stuff like that and details of it and everything. So I mean, we've got people that will write one if you want.
okay, yeah, I'll definitely keep it in mind. I know, Watson had like two of them, but shit, they're so booked up that it's like 4 months out before they can write anything for us.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm kind of backed out. Yeah. And the two lawyers that I got a hold of that said they would write it, both of them haven't contacted me back. So, and they were my good lawyers. So kind
Gotcha.
of run low.
And you've got deals that are kind of waiting on that or what?
Not right now. Two of them kind of backed away, and then I found another one, another property. So, but I'm sure I'm going to get another five or six if interest rates continue to stay like where they're at.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it's a great option for people. Can you, the ones that you have, can you have somebody put together just a generic one where you can plug and play?
I'm sure I could, and if nothing else, I could do the Rocket Lawyer deal again. I mean, they did a pretty good job for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, you just don't want to have any responsibility for that side of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Let them take care of their business.
And it's not like it'd be a tough job. I mean, I had amortization rate, I had the whole 9 yards wrote down in an email and everything for him, sent it over to him. It shouldn't
Yeah,
have took him longer than a day.
right.
But guess they didn't want $850 or 1,200 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I think it cost me 800 to have the one written that I had, and then yeah, I think it was 800 or 850 or something like that. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, our easement was like 1,200, I think, when I had it wrote, so I couldn't imagine it being more than an easement.
Gotcha. Um, the easement that you had, who pulled all the details on it? Did you have a survey or something that showed where it was at and everything?
Yeah, we had a surveyor that was out there just like the week prior, and
Oh,
they gave us the wordage, and the title company gave us the wordage that they'd like on there, and then we just sent it over to them.
right on. Very cool. Did you do anything for Memorial Day weekend?
I worked all weekend, and I went to Deadwood and almost did really good, but let my pride get in the way and lost it all again. Stayed in too long.
What were you
Yeah.
playing?
I was playing blackjack, and then I played like some three card and stuff. But I like sat down with 1,000 and I lost to like 200, and then I racked it up to like 4 grand. And I decided, oh, I'm just going to continue to play off that 4 grand. I mean, shit, I can't lose now. And then I got like 7 or 8 hands running around one table, or I had like a swing of like four different ones running. So I had like a grand on the table, and I just lost it. And then I got completely on tilt and left at like 2 o'clock in the morning with a pizza and $20.
You've seen how this movie ends before, right?
Yeah, multiple times. No, I'm really, really good at getting it up there into like 3, 4 grand, but I'm just really terrible at leaving.
What's up, Dan Logan?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good, man. It's good. Hey, Casey Pearson, how are you?
She doesn't want to talk to you.
She probably doesn't.
Sorry, no, I'm here. I was baking a cake and I didn't think you wanted to watch me bake my cake, but
Oh,
I'm
shit.
here. I'm listening.
We'll help you eat it.
I know it's a raspberry lemon cake from scratch,
Oh,
so we shall see.
baking is one of those things I don't do well, so I appreciate anybody else baking, and especially if it tastes good.
Right?
So I don't know when you guys jumped on. I apologize. Tegan and I were just BSing. So we're not really going to do a class today or anything. I'm going to get an email out, and next week we're going to go over the new track for the Wyoming stuff. Casey, I did send you the tracking ledger form again this morning, and it is in dot loop and available to be pulled in, filled out, that kind of thing.
Do I have to go back? Like I have one contract that's pending right now. Do I have to go back and add that stuff?
In order to close that one out, you're going to probably have to fill that out, yes.
Okay. Okay.
But
Perfect.
fairly simple. And here's the deal. You and I talked about it, Casey, and Tegan and I talked about it, so I'll throw it out for Dan just so he knows. But you can delegate in Wyoming the ability to take funds, and I think you guys are doing it in Rapid City now too. Commercial has always been kind of a different deal, but they're not taking any funds for earnest money or anything at the brokerage anymore because nobody wants the responsibility of it. Well, you can delegate the task, but you can't delegate all of the responsibility for it. So in each location, and there's just a little copy out of an interpretation of the statutes for what it is. But if you have all of the things going on and you're taking earnest money, you have to have the trust account, and then you have to have a register, a tracking journal, and then a reconciliation. If you have a funds holder do it, you can delegate all of that responsibility, all of that task, but you can't do all of the responsibility. Since you're not writing the checks and you're not reconciling, those two things go away, but there always has to be a snapshot of where the money's at, what happened to it, who it got dispersed to, all of that kind of stuff, anytime somebody wants to pull a file. So it is basically logging that you received earnest money, what the event is, what file it goes to, so there's seller names, buyer names at the top, property address, which one of those two that you're representing, so who your principal is, and then in the record down on the bottom, the first one will be like deliver earnest money, the second entry would probably be dispersed on most of them at closing to the transaction, and then see HUD statements for verification. Where this comes in is if somebody does take earnest money to First American Title, and then First American Title, or the deal doesn't close, and then there's an agreement to disperse the money, then you would have check numbers of it going either to the buyer or seller individually, or if it was being split, or whatever that was, and you would have a full record of money coming in, staying with the funds holder until it was dispersed. And then once you have that disposition, then it meets the requirements for Wyoming statute in the file. So I know it's one extra thing to do, but I think literally it's like 30 seconds worth of work. And if we get our files audited, they would be looking for this as a brokerage to make sure that we're doing this, even though that we're using funds holders and stuff like that. And then Shalisa was on top of her game. All of that stuff is in those tracks. This is the only real one that I think was holding anybody up at the moment, because the other ones are optional or we already had them. We will get all of those forms into Dotloop so that they can all be filled out, so they have forms on them, fields on them, so that they can be filled out, and then we'll be able just to be dragged into Dotloop or into Command for when you're doing your file. So I will get an email out later. It might not be later today. It might be tomorrow, because I got showings all afternoon. But we'll get on the schedule for next Friday, just going through that track and answering any questions, looking at forums, all that kind of stuff, so that we can make sure that everybody can get their deals closed when Shalisa can start writing checks again. Casey, does that, I know that's basically the same conversation you and I had yesterday, but does that work for you for right now?
Yeah. And I talked to Dawn shortly after too, and she talked me more off the ledge. So
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to Hannah and tell her too, like, you need to start chiming in, and because I know that we all get the emails, but then I feel like she doesn't do a whole lot, and then Mona is just kind of a busybody anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully she knows of these things. So I think I'm gonna shoot her a message as well and just say, hey guys, like, it's super important, and let them know that things are changing and that it stressed me out.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes what happens is we're going along, and like this one specifically for funds holder stuff is I'm sitting in a broker class and we're having conversation, and I chime up my hand and I'm like, why doesn't everybody just use funds holders, right? That sounds like it's way easier to me. We've got nothing left to do. And she was like, I'm sorry, sir. There are things left for you to do. Here's your responsibility, and laid it out. And I was like, I guess we better go back and check that. So like I said, I try and communicate with Sarah, try and communicate with Kevin, the two instructors for the two real estate schools or the big two real estate schools, and have conversations about it. And it's always to try and protect us. So having this in our files is something we needed to have. Sometimes the way we roll it out is not great. So we'll try and improve that part of it. Better communication, better instruction, maybe a little bit more lead time. And that's always great feedback. So I appreciate that, Casey.
Yeah, thanks for talking me off the ledge and stuff yesterday and hearing me out. I just, it's been a whirlwind, and I think Keller is like always on top of stuff and like technology savvy and all that. And so then like I get more frustrated with my board up here, the Buffalo board. We literally do nothing. And like these old hags just get together and eat lunch. And I'm like, why are we not like actually educating one another?
Right.
And it's a really weird dynamic here with me and them. And so I don't speak up very often. But I feel like we have one chairperson that does education, and I've never heard these terms. And I'm like, well, why are we just eating lunch and not talking? Like, I don't get it. And then apparently Casper manages us as a board, and they don't want to keep us anymore. And so there's talks of us like merging with Sheridan. And I'm like, yes, please. Like, I want more of a support system. So I'm hopeful that it'll actually turn into something, but
and to your point too, right? There's other brokerages out there right now that are not doing any classes. You get your license, they go out and they're just letting them write contracts and letting them do things without having any real resources at the brokerage level to be able to do it. And we've got brokers that aren't looking at contracts and aren't holding people accountable for forms and that kind of thing. So we're trying to fill those gaps, and I know we're not perfect at it yet, but this is something that is not available typically at other brokerages, even in Cheyenne and stuff like that right now. So
for sure.
I'm going to catch Julie and Mickey up just real quick. If the other four of you guys want to drop off, I'm not doing anything additional. If you want to just hang out and listen to me say the same thing again, I always appreciate that because I love you guys. But I know that sometimes you got things to do, like bake cakes, sell real estate,
necessities of life, baking cakes,
fish on the lake, all that kind of stuff and everything. So, but yeah, so just look for the emails. Anybody you can contact up there, I would appreciate. Casey, Tegan, Julie, anybody over in that area that you guys can contact. But we're going to go through the whole new track, talk about those forms, and do everything next Friday so that we can kind of have a conversation about them.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, Sean, how are you guys?
Pretty good, Julie. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I ducked out of another Zoom meeting, so.
Nope, awesome. So all I really did was I sent you guys out the funds tracking ledger today. All I did was give a little bit of explanation for it. So and I know it's a little bit redundant, and I know it's an extra thing to fill out, and it seems like there's some other places for it. But in Wyoming statute for holding escrow accounts or having trust accounts, I apologize. There's 3 requirements: a journal, a ledger. I'm sorry, a tracking journal or ledger, registry, and a balance. And we can have funds holders hold those funds, and we can delegate those tasks, but we can't delegate all of the responsibility. So there has to be a snapshot for every transaction or every file that shows when the money came in, who held it, where it was, and what the disposition was. Typically, ours are going to be pretty simple. Earnest money came in, delivered to, wired to, whatever the case is, whatever escrow company is holding the funds. And then when it gets dispersed, there'll be another line that says so much money dispersed to transaction, basically, and then see HUD sheets to balance out kind of deal. And we'll kind of work on the wording and how those are going to be filled out. But then when somebody comes in, they know it came in, they know who held it, they knew who was responsible for it. It got dispersed, it's taken care of, and it balances out basically to a 0 on that sheet. What happened before is title company holds it, deal falls through, client goes to First American Title and says, hey, my deal fell through, I'm here to pick up my earnest money, and got somebody who didn't verify, and there was no agreement to disperse. So then the money was gone, And the people that had it, the brokerage, had zero idea that the money was out. So if it's other people's money, we just have to do our due diligence, make sure we take care of it. That form is now loaded into Dotloop. It does not have fillable fields on it yet. We'll get that fixed. And then that way you have it in Dotloop so that you can fill it out and then get it uploaded into Command to fulfill that requirement.
Cool. So, I mean, it doesn't sound like any big, huge issue or hassle.
It's not, it just is it's a requirement, and like I said, it fills the statute requirement for the state of Wyoming if we're using funds holders.
You know, when not, sorry to bring up another state, but like what we used to have to do is you just had to have like a printout or a screenshot. Like I would actually like download the email of, you know how we have the receipt when the earnest money gets deposited? And then we would have to, that email from the title company became part of the record. And then also for us too, like when what I think is real different here, different topic, sorry, but is when you are mutual, we would actually have to send an email that says, we are mutual. And then that also had to go into the record.
I don't know what mutual means. What are you saying for mutual?
You've agreed and you're under contract. You know, like if I'm going to buy your property,
yeah.
And I say, and you're the listing agent and it's 800,000. And then I bring the buyer and we've got an offer for 800,000. Everybody signs it around and we are underway. We used to have we would have to send the email. We are signed around. Here's the contract. We're mutual. And then that email became part of the transaction.
Fair. I mean, and it's the same thing as this. There may have been some statute that required that you acknowledge the fact that you are under contract or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that could be. And the bottom line is that you do still have to have an earnest money receipt. This is a second part to it because of the disposition piece at the end. So you still have to have both. So you'll load earnest money receipt into Command, and then you'll also load this tracking piece that just has the disposition and everything on it.
Nice. And then at the end, when they disperse at closing, they'll tell us, and then we know who it was and we fill it in.
Yeah, and your HUD statement should basically be able to serve as that. I haven't 100% verified that, but the HUD statement shows on the seller statement on the date who it was going to be dispersed to, and it shows that earnest money chunk in there. So it should.
Well, that transaction one that we just uploaded and is in there, but that goes in the under contract file. We're not. I mean, and it says required, so we have to submit it. But when we submit it, it's not going to be completed.
Right.
You'll update it at the end, and you'll sign off on it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
She always rejects my stuff.
Because you don't want to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a checker. So, well, cool. No. So that's it. That's easy. I'm not going to be here next Friday because I'm delivering Julie's sign on my way to Deadwood.
Nice.
But
yeah, no, and it'll be recorded again and stuff, so we should be able to just jump in and look at it or whatever. So
okay, cool.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
That's awesome.
And then absolutely, Julie, anything else that you come across like that, I just apologize to those other guys for the way this went out, how quick Shalisa got on it. We thought it was kind of this whole work in progress kind of thing. And then like Wednesday morning, Shalisa has it all loaded because she's on top of shit and rocks. So then all of a sudden everybody was calling. So I apologize for the way we rolled that out.
Definitely think we need to spend an afternoon going through Dotloop and how they have it broken down and how she wants it and how she wants those extra folders labeled. Because I think everybody's not on the same page.
Right.
I mean, I sent you and Gary Joe that email, how does she want us to differentiate these? Does she want us to label them? And I'm saying this as an admin, it should drive me nuts that every agent labeled it something different. So I had to figure out what the hell they were all talking about until I just downloaded everything. And I said, this is the verbiage we're going to use. This is where it needs to go.
Yeah,
That way everybody's on the same plates on
and I
the,
think that we've got everything labeled now, so it sort of fixes that because you're not gonna have to have as much in a miscellaneous folder anymore. You're really only gonna have in a miscellaneous folder a couple of things.
see, and
then
I
you're gonna have a
disagree.
referral.
I was going in there and there was no title acknowledgement. There was,
It's
so
in
there's
there.
a few different things that I thought that were a requirement that still aren't in there.
If we missed it, we'll get Shalisa to update it, but basically she added everything that was on that checklist that we had.
Okay.
So
Well,
if she missed title commitment, it'll be in there.
Yeah,
Well,
title
also-
acceptance of covenants. What was the other one that I put in a miscellaneous file the other day? I can't remember. There was something else, but I'll keep track of it and
Yeah, just look, because if we didn't, because the two options are make a whole bunch of miscellaneous files, or
Yeah.
she said she could just add all those forms in. So now we have all those forms available in a slot. Because I think that works better for a new agent to go in there and not have to remember what goes in this folder, but just look and go, if I have this document, I'm just gonna upload it. And then you should only end up with a couple in a miscellaneous folder.
well, and she doesn't have access to dot loop, she said.
Who doesn't?
Shalisa.
They have to send them in to get the forms added, the fields added to the pages, and then have them uploaded into the system.
But I mean,
But
she,
she
the way
put
I,
them in today.
well, but the way I understood it was she couldn't even go into dot loop.
Oh, she can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
She can't,
Well,
she's
awesome,
gonna do,
kids.
what she's not gonna do is go into dotloop typically and search for files to load into command for you. I think she can, but you'd have to pay her like $1 million.
I don't have it.
Okay, so we'll get some emails out. We're gonna try and do a better job of communication. We'll go through all those forms, Julie, and what would be in additional folders, all next Friday.
good. Thank you guys. Have a good
Okay.
weekend.
So I'll miss that. And then what was Casey saying about Sheridan? I just got the tail end
Oh,
of that.
she just trying to get messages to you guys that we're gonna have conversations about all these, so
Oh,
that everybody can be on the same page.
Yeah.
We know that when you get to like Northwest, we know that when you get to Sheridan and Buffalo, even Gillette some, that sometimes all the changes that we do or all the things that we're doing in the larger markets in Casper and Cheyenne don't always get communicated very well. So, and it really should be the same. We're using all the state forums, we're doing all the things, but in those smaller communities, there's not a lot of teaching and a lot of stuff going on. So we're
Yeah.
trying to do it here.
cool.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Go
So
sell some
new,
stuff.
so we have new or new forms in there right now. Or it's coming.
You're talking about state forms?
Yeah.
State forms have not been updated. They were working on finals this week. We got drafts last week.
Okay.
You do have a town hall meeting scheduled for your area. So look in your email and figure out what days those are. Ours isn't until June 18th. I'm gonna try and log into some of the other ones, but to talk about the new forms that are coming out.
Okay. I signed up, I think in Nura, but I don't think Sheridan, I've never seen it come from Sheridan.
And they might not.
Yeah,
They might suck.
probably not. They're special.
I mean, it just, yeah, seriously, it's tough. I mean, Bobby Land just sent some stuff out for the Casper MLS yesterday, which is the first thing I've seen about the NAR settlement kind of in general. So, from her anyway. So, yeah, everybody, we've been talking about it forever, 3 months basically, so.
Well, thanks,
Cool.
guys.
Thanks for keeping me honest, Julie.
Bye, guys. Have a good
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. Bye.